All praises to the Most High, brother Yakani. Give his son Yahushua all the glory. All right. And so this is part 2 on being a peculiar person for the newcomers in the truth. All right. And so salute to all my brothers and sisters out there who is teaching the word and preaching the word. You know, all the my brothers out there that is on the highways and byways. I pray that you're safe and also successful. All right. And so now we're gonna get right off into the lesson. Part 1, we talked about the characteristics in a few scriptures about being a peculiar individual. All right, and we're gonna go back over the characteristics of being a peculiar person. So we have obedience. Obedience is very important in this truth. All right. Being special or set aside. You have to, being special, you have to get away from this world, this ungodly system, this society. This is Satan's society. All right? He's leasing it right now, in a sense. And the world is just full of wickedness. So much wickedness in the world. And so, and you have to pick up the stake. Or some people would say cross and follow the Most High. You can't look back. You have to definitely just get out. Get out of this system. Get out of the mentality. Change your mentality. The way how you think. Start all over again. All right? And so being special now is being set aside. Separating yourself. Okay? That's one. All right? And being holy. You wouldn't know how to be holy if you don't read the requirements of being holy and being a peculiar people. All right. And how you do that is meditating on the laws, statutes, and commandments day and night. All right. And reading the book of the law. Okay. Just like he told Joshua. All right. Then keeping commandments. All right. That is like, keeping the commandments, being obedient, being holy, separating yourself to be special, and believing that you're a peculiar person, believing that the Most High called, to you to this truth, to be a peculiar person. You have to believe in Him. You can't just endure for a short while and then you say, man, you know what, just forget it. All right, you have to endure. And so now, before we go on to some more characteristics, let's get some more scriptures. And so, and this is in the book of Titus. All right, the book of Titus. Give me 1 second. I'll tell you what. Yeah, it's definitely hard when you come into this truth to, to maintain. It is. And this is the book of Titus, chapter 2, verse 14. And it say, who gave himself for us that he might redeem us from all iniquity and purify unto himself a peculiar people, zealous of good works. All right. And so now we in the New Testament. So obviously we, the new covenant. All right. He sent his son Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus. All right. That's what you comfortable with calling. But, I prefer Yahushua, the Hebrew name. All right. Because I'm a realistic person. The letter J only been around for like 400 something years. So that's how I actually came into the truth. That is what sparked my interest and me just start seeking. Like, wow, that was just very powerful because the most powerful name in the world starts with J. So I'm like, dang, if it only been around for 400 years, then what did they call him before that? And that's what, and that was the hook in my jaw to get me into this knowledge. All right. And we're going to read it again. All right, this is the book of Titus, chapter 2, verse 14. And it say, who gave himself for us, that he might redeem us from all iniquity, and purify unto himself a peculiar people, zealous of good works. All right. So now, thank all praises to the Most High for sending his son. So obviously we failed, right? We're not such a peculiar people as a whole. Why? Because we are not following the laws, statutes, and commandments, for one. All right. Number two, we are doing the same thing as the Gentiles do. So now we feel most of our people think they are Gentiles, when indeed they are actually Israelites. Okay? And so that's another reason why. Because of the fact that we're not obeying the law, statutes, and commandments. That's how Israel was a peculiar people. Because of the Most High gave him his laws for a perfect society. And when you start getting into the laws, you will see that the Most High is just like beautiful. His laws, like the way how he think, what he instructed Moses to do, and the prophets. All right, like taking care of the strangers, the fatherless, the widows. Just think about how sweet that is. You can't beat that, and all of the moral laws. Okay, just like that's how that's how the children of Israel became a peculiar people, through the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. All right, and now we are in a bad state as a people. So we mixed up with all type of ungodliness, okay, all type of iniquities. All right, and so now. And we at this point in the last days where now he purifying us to be a peculiar people. And so we're going to read it again. Who gave himself for us, that he might redeem us from all iniquity, and purify unto himself a peculiar people, zealous of good works. So that is another characteristics. All right. Those two being purified, repenting daily, enduring in this truth, learning the law, statutes, and commandments, and abiding, just reading, dwelling in this word. That's how you become purified. All right? And zealous of good work. You have to have a zeal for this. You cannot, especially if you're a man, you cannot come into this truth and not have some type of zeal for this truth. Because this is what's going to make us free. This truth right here. So the more we have men out there on the corners, on the street corners, on the highways and the byways, you putting out videos. You have to have zeal, to put out this word and put out this truth to edify our people. And so that's another way of being a peculiar person. All right. And so now we're going to go to the last one in the book of 1 Peter, all right? So just bear with me here. And it's 1 Peter chapter 2. And verse 9. And it say, but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who had called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. All right? And so now we are in really, really darkness, gross darkness. All right? And it's sad because of the fact that I think about it all the time, if they got a chance to experience so many miracles, and to be warned, having a relationship, having theocracy, which meaning a God-led or, spiritual power-led society. How would they fall? How could you fall? But we all stiff-necked, and I know that by experiences because of dreams that I had, breakthroughs, blessings, and still can lose focus. All right. And so But now we are in darkness in our society. All right, and being in this system in Babylon the Great, you know what I'm saying? We have so much vanity, so many wicked people, Israelites, the 2/3, and plus the Gentile nations, the heathen nations. Okay, our oppressors, you know, and now and like I say, like, you know, for you to walk in light now and to be able to discern, have a discerning spirit of what's unholy, what's holy, you have to be a peculiar person of these laws, statutes, and commandments. You know, even before you come into this truth. Now, one thing about humans, we have a natural instinct of knowing what's humane and what's not. So before you read the laws, like, you should know that it's wrong to kill. You know, most of us anyway. You should know that it's wrong to steal. You wouldn't want nobody to steal your stuff. But in the laws, statutes, and the commandments of the Most High, it's more laws and statutes and commandments, right? Like, for an example, not eating fat. You know, like if you familiar with steaks, like the fat on steaks, you wouldn't know that's unlawful. Only how you would know that if you read the law, statutes, and commandments. Then you have some people, you know, health freaks, they might know it, but it's not something that is probably practiced throughout the world. You know, and the laws, like I say, once again, the laws, statutes, and commandments are very important. And so we're going to read verse 9 from 1 Peter chapter 2 again. But ye are a chosen generation. This generation that we in, you know, I don't know if it's been this much evil, you know, like been going on in the other generations. I know it's not, because it's getting worse and worse and worse. All right, a royal priesthood and holy nation, a peculiar people that you should show forth the praises. So this is another characteristic: praising the Most High, communicating with the Most High, being led by the Most High. All right, have to stay steadfast in prayer. Okay, and let me see, and show forth the praise of him who had called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. All right, and so once you can't come out of the darkness, you know, like I said earlier, being a peculiar person, also one of the characteristics is well, actually, I probably didn't say it, but if I have, but I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it again, is you have to teach. So once you have this light, you have to shine your light on other people to get them out of darkness. And so before we wrap it up, we're going to go back to the characteristics, you know, from the book of Exodus, chapter 19 and verse 5, we got obedience, one of the characteristics. And then special, or being set aside, okay, separating yourselves. Being holy, okay, keeping the commandments, all right, believing, faithfulness, zealous, having a zeal for the Most High, and shining your light, all right, to the people that are in darkness. So and that's one of the things about being a peculiar person. Once you come into the light, all right, and if they are sheep of the Most High and they hear his voice, they're going to say, wow, this guy or this woman is different. I want to know, you know, like, how can they be so different in this ungodly society? You understand? So this is going to wrap it up with part 2 of being a peculiar people. And I hope that you're edified, and I, you know, pray that you will get something out of this. And so repent, all right? Get the Most High. Repent now. Repent, you know, whenever you can, before it's too late. And we don't never know when it's too late. So, you know, make it urgent, all right? So-called black people that over here from product from the slave trade, you are the descendants of Israel. I say shalom.